Please help me in welcoming to the stage Megan Mullally. Eric McCormick. Oh. Oh, this is so fun. Deborah Messing. Sean Hayes. Director and executive producer Jimmy Burrows. Creator and executive producer David Cohan. Creator and executive producer Max Muchnick. It's very serendipitous that we're here tonight because I don't know if you know this, but this moment that we're all sitting here right now is the 20th anniversary of the night they all shot the pilot of Will and Grace. I mean, how exciting is that? It's such a thrill for me. All right, I won't fan out because I love you all so much, so I'm just going to try to act professional. Okay, let me start with a question that obviously everybody wants to know, and for Max and David. You know, the success of this show this season is now being looked at as the template for how to do a reboot. And obviously we all, like they say in Hamilton, wish we were in the room where it happened. So we would love to know, and I would love to know, and I'm sure everyone would love to know, how, you know, to what degree the viral video, the election video in 2016 was a part of that, and whether at what moment it became clear to you that this could possibly happen.
It was getting a call from Bob Greenblatt, who said, would the two of us like to have lunch with him, about a week or so after we put it up online. And Dave and I have had a complicated relationship with NBC, and we had not been there in about a decade. And so we couldn't imagine that they were going to be more angry at us for something. And
so it didn't occur to you?
Well, you know, we had an idea of what it was going to be, but it was really about the four of them.
Right, right. Oh, okay. Well, to that, David, also, can you talk a little bit about how you guys decided on the way in which it would happen? In other words, many might think, and most reboots will literally pick up where it was where they left off. And you guys had this, I think, genius idea to let us.
That was all me. That was all me.
I think you guys had this genius, Max.
Sorry, go ahead.
You guys had this genius idea, and I'd love to know how much planning went into how we were going to do this. At what point do we pick up?
Well, the first thing we said to each other was, you know, they had kids. Like, they had kids at the end of the series. So if Will and Grace are parents, then they're parents. And if the kids are not really around, then they're bad parents. Do we want to see that? Do we really want, is that the show we want to see? Or do we want to see what the strength of the show always was, which was the four of them? And if that's the case, how do we dispose of the children?
Boy, I've had that thought so many times, right? But that's not good to admit.
I mean, it became clear to us just in the writing process that the four of them still had it in such a big way from the online piece that we did, and why would we, you know, mess with that alchemy? But as Dave said, it was figuring out how are we going to, you know, get rid of these kids.
So then it became a question of, well, you have to acknowledge it. People have seen it. Acknowledge. It's basic. It was kind of like a scene where you're begging the audience to go with us. Just go with us on this. It's better this way. And which was what we did. And we felt like once we kind of got that scene figured out, the rest would fall into place because we know these characters, and the difference is it's 2017 instead of, you know, 1998.
Well, the original idea was that I was going to wake up in a shower with Bobby Ewing, and I think, and just sort of combine it all.
Please tell me you shot that scene.
We did shoot that scene.
Oh,
it's on the DVD, actually.
Yeah. Well, this is a good question for you guys, and I'm going to ask you each a specific question in a minute. But I'd love to know to what degree that this coming back and this great feeling that we have that we had hit pause and then we let go of pause, and you guys went right back to what we loved to see, the comfort of seeing the four of you. In some ways, what has been rewarding to you guys about the evolution of your characters, or was it more comforting to just pick up where you felt like you left off?
I think one of the great comforts was that not only could we pick up these characters, but that our friendships could just pick up. We hadn't spent a lot of time as a foursome at all in 10 years, but that we could land in that sandbox again and just start playing. Literally just 0 to 60 was pretty reassuring.
I was pretty excited to see what was going on in Grace's life after all that time. And
You play Grace.
I do play Grace. But I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know. But no, I loved the fact that she was a single working woman who was thriving and happy and had great friendships and was just doing great.
I have to ask you this because I'm dying to know, because you know when the show ends, when you have your finale, everyone knows that you guys pillage the stage and take things home with you. And I'm dying to know if there are any props or
Max
wardrobe.
took the stage. Max literally took the stage.
Yeah.
He took the set.
I took the entire apartment, but I think everybody got a little bit. She got, yeah.
What did you
Deborah got-
take?
I said that all I wanted was Grace Adler's door, because I thought it would be cool to have it in my house, just sort of leaning up against it. And so Max and Dave, they're like, it's a door, sure, take it. And a week later, I get a call from NBC saying, you owe us $250 for the wood.
For the wood.
And I said, sue me.
Did you have to give back the door when you came back?
I said, fuck them.
So,
I have the door.
Grace
I
Adler
mean,
has.
my God, we were on for 8 years. We made them $1 zillion. They wanted 200. They wanted 200 bucks.
So Grace has a new
was
door.
like,
I love that.
yeah.
I love when Deborah drinks before one of these things. I love it.
Well, let me ask you this. For Jimmy, you know, you've directed many of television's greatest comedies. Cheers, Friends, Frasier, Taxi, Mary Tyler Moore, just to name only a few. Are you able
Union
to...
Square.
Union
Oh, nice.
The Torkelsons.
You also appeared in The Comeback, which was a hugely, it was great for us. But I want to know whether you feel like, depending on the show, you know right away when you have something, or if you think you know what is going to happen in each case.
Well, it all starts with a script. And this was a wonderful script that the boys wrote. And after that, it's all luck. Because you got to get 4 actors like this, which is fortuitous that they were available. And then you have to be in the right time slot on a network that will nurture your show, especially this show, which had issues with a lot of the country. There was a lot of the country that would not watch the show based on who the characters were. So there are all these things that you have to accomplish in order to have a hit. And we were fortuitous with this show. I mean, the boys wrote a great script. These 4 people were available. I directed it.
Yes.
But Jim knew the week that we made the show.
Yeah.
The week that we made the show, you have I think 7 days on a pilot, and we were boys, which is why he still calls us boys, even though we're 50 now. But we were a few days into it, and Jimmy came to us at the end of one of the rehearsal days and said we should take some days off, because he felt like that the show was going to peak in the middle of the work week, and he wanted it to peak on camera. And so we shut down, and gave them a couple of days off, and then
I
came
have no
back.
memory of that.
Do you,
Yeah. Because
We took a day off.
every pilot I do, about 4 days in.
You guys were working.
Yeah.
But here's another amazing thing.
You had a memory of taking the door, though.
Yeah.
I earned that door.
When I do a pilot, on the 4th day of a pilot, it's written in the Bible. On the 4th day, on the 4th day of a pilot, I have an audience come in that watches just off the street that watches the show with a single camera for the sets they can't see. And I knew by the reaction to this show that we had something special. And it was a tribute.
But these guys weren't even Karen and what are your names? Karen and Jack. They weren't even. You didn't even have a scene in the pilot.
No, they didn't meet.
You guys didn't even meet until the series. Yeah.
But something else that's amazing that Sean just reminded me of is that for the first 3 days of rehearsal of the pilot, there was a 5th character who was my partner at the law firm. And about 3 days in, Jimmy went, you don't need him. It's one more person I have to direct. I don't want that. So, but so they let him go. And you know who it was? And I forgot. It's Cress Williams, who this week premieres as Black Lightning on the CW. 20 years later.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
No, I had the joy of having to call him and let him go after the
No
run through.
fun,
It
but
wasn't
still
good.
great.
Well,
that-
he's here, and he wants to talk to all of you. Now, since I grabbed your arm,
Yeah.
you always have really good dirt or juice or surprises.
Not tonight.
Come on. Do you have anything you can tell us that none of us know?
I can tell you that we have been picked up for 5 more episodes next year, and so we're not doing 13, we're doing 18. But that is, yeah.
That's a little something.
Yeah, that's right. That's
a little
that's the
something.
only thing I can think of.
Mackie,
What?
Next.
What?
Megan just reminded me
Oh, what?
there's something else, too.
Oh, I don't remember.
NBC has also picked us up for a 3rd
Oh,
season.
right,
of
that. Thank you, Mr. Greenblatt.
You heard it here first.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
Sean, can I ask you something?
Finally.
I'm sure you will.
By the way,
Oh, just wait.
The same joke I've been saying. These guys are so sick of that joke.
You. Speaking of things that you may be sick of talking about, but everybody wants to know, and on Twitter this question came up more than ever, and the physicality of all of you on this show, but particularly with Jack. Can you clue us in a little bit about your process, whether when you read it on the page, you see instantly what you're going to do physically, or...
Keep going.
Or does Eric tell you what to do?
Yeah. By the way, yes. And it's always right. And it's always right.
Now, how much of it comes out of rehearsal?
No, I mean, that's what, I always say, and we always say that we all share something in common. We all have a pretty extensive theater background. We all kind of grew up and learned, everything we know in the theater like an actor should, probably. And so because of that, Jimmy's created, along with the writers and everybody, a playground to experiment and fail safely. And so I think a lot of it comes from the trust and respect we have all together sitting on a stage to, not make somebody feel like an idiot if you try something and it doesn't work. So because of that process, you see what you see.
They're hard workers. I mean, that's something that people should know about the 4 of them. I mean, they don't want to work now, but they used to really want to work. But they're incredible in their technique and their ability as actors to interpret the work, and they get the job done, as you see.
Nothing has inspired me more than watching the 4 of you not only do what you each do in your own lane so brilliantly, but how you honor each other for that for each other's talent. It's awesome.
Thanks. Really
I think
nice.
we're
Thanks,
genuine.
Dan. Thank you. That really means a lot. That's a really nice compliment.
I think we're genuine fans of each other. And
Oh, we were just watching the backstage. I'm sorry, but
No,
I'm
that's
listening.
okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
No,
is
that's
that
okay.
okay?
That's
I'm sorry.
fine.
Yeah. I love listening to Deborah. Watching Deborah watch these three is one of the great joys of the gig because she laughs like she doesn't work with us. You know, she laughs like she watches the show. Like I was like, you know, you work here. You're
That
on
is
that
so
show.
true.
Have you not seen this? You were at the table. Yeah. Megan, curious, you know, you don't. Wow, good. Oh no, not yet, not yet, not yet. Obviously, you get asked a lot the question about Karen voice and all that, but I want to ask you something that I really wonder about. You don't have to tell us your personal politics, but you get to play a character who may or may not share your personal life views. And I wonder if you look at that as challenging or a thrill to kind of enter the body of somebody who's so outspoken in such a specific way.
Let's just say that since I've heard that Donald Trump Jr. is going to be available, Nick, we've had a good run. Sorry, but he's everything.
Great. That says it all, really.
Thank you.
All right. Deborah, it's well known that Will and Grace has featured some of the best guest stars. And this season is no exception, with J-Lo, Jane Lynch, Alec Baldwin, and others that you may remember who were on the show.
Oh yes, Dan has been on the show.
Okay, and no, that was just an opportunity, you know. No, but you've had, and you may have been vocal about this, but you've had one particularly favorite guest star, and we've lost her, but I would love to know what working with Debbie Reynolds meant to you. And
working with Debbie was really indescribable. I mean, you know, she would come on the stage and she was a broad in the greatest sense. And she always was entertaining and singing and dancing, and then she was running off and doing her one-woman show, you know, 300 days a year. I mean, and it was just crazy. But she and I would sit together and we would talk about being mothers, because I was a new mother. And she would talk about Carrie. And we talked about, you know, the challenges of being a working mom. And, you know, she really became someone very, very, very special in my heart. And I really wanted us to honor her, you know, because she meant so much to the show. And I really think that the episode that they wrote honors her, and it's funny and it's moving, and, you know, but she's with us.
The first day she showed up, yes, we love her. Just quickly, the first day that she came to the show, she walked into our office and she introduced herself as Debbie Reynolds, Burt Reynolds' sister. And
how did she introduce the audience? I mean, to the audience, how she did introduce herself? Every single show she did, she was introduced herself to the audience. She go, "I'm Princess Leia's mother."
Oh yeah, that's right.
Every show.
So she came and she sat down with us, and there was Debbie Reynolds, you know, sitting in our office, and I just, out of respect, I said to her, you know, you're going to be playing Deborah's mother, and, you know, you're this fantastic blonde, but would you mind, for our show, would you mind dyeing your hair red? And, you know, so you could look a little bit more like Deborah. And this is the first time I've ever met her, and she said, I have two hairs on my body, they're gray, and they're on my pussy.
It's America's sweetheart.
Yeah, that's America's sweetheart.
I said,
and right, and she said, my hair, yeah, if you want my hair to be blue, and it'll be blue for the show. She, you know, so.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So yes,
Yes.
that's a yes,
Yes.
right?
That's a yes. She died them.
Yes.
Both of them. She died both of them. Eric,
You knew that
you
story,
do
right?
such a great job of balancing a character who is not only the voice of reason, but also juggles so many of his own neuroses. And we got this question on Twitter a lot also, but I wonder what advice you, as Eric, would give to Will Truman now in 2018.
Hang on to that apartment, for one thing. That's ridiculous. I mean, don't be an idiot. Do not sell. Although it lacks a fourth wall, and it says DraftKings. You know, the truth. People always say, when's Will going to settle down? It's like, well, if Will settles down, I'm not sure how much fun that is. The fun for us two is that we keep trying and we fail and we find each other, you know? And so maybe if we you know, in season 15, we'll both find things in the show will morph. But for right now, I love that the key to Will is that he tries and he's not afraid to fail because he's always got her. And there's a speech that the guys wrote in the final episode, airing in a week and a half, that basically says that, and it was really touching for me to think that. That's the show.
Well, David and Max, you know, for fans that don't necessarily know the process of how a multi-camera sitcom gets shot and the changes that happen in that script, I thought maybe you could take us through how that evolves over the course of the week.
When we come into the writer's room, the goal is to always stave off work for as much as possible. Yeah. So what happens is that you end up just sharing stories of your own life. This is what happened to me last night.
Host chat.
Host chat, we call it, right? You can only drink your coffee like this. Mm-hmm. And from that, I would say most of the stories evolved from those conversations in the morning, where it's the writers just talking about their own lives, their own observations, stuff they saw, things that are happening in their own relationship, which triggers a thought, which triggers an idea, and suddenly you're off and you're trying to break a story from that. And once you have that story broken, and everybody's sitting around the table and everybody's sort of like throwing their 2 cents in, and eventually from that you cull together a cohesive story, you know, and usually 2 stories, because there's an A story and a B story.
We run the room, but we have assembled a group of writers that are spectacular, and they have been with us for now 20 years, a lot of them, and they are a very, very important part of what these 4 have said over the last, you know, how many ever years we've been doing this. And we've always kind of believed in a meritocracy, you know, the best idea will out. And so as a result, we have a lot of writers in the room who, at this point actually, it's only executive producers in the room. Wow. So that makes for a very, very unhappy writer's assistant team. And it makes for a very kind of energized and, you know, a lot of passion takes place in that writing room. Mm-hmm.
And obviously from table read to the run-throughs and rehearsals and watching the actors say these lines, and then on the floor on show night, there are rewrites even happening up until that moment. Like, is there a moment where you know that's the joke?
Yes. Well, you know what, you have a sense of what works and what doesn't work, but rewriting initially was scary. Jimmy was the one who said, you know, this doesn't work. It doesn't work. We could try something else. And it's like, but it's there. It's on the page. What are we supposed to do with it? It's like, get rid of it. Get rid of it. And Jimmy was the one who's like, don't be afraid to, you know, to dispose of your children.
And to write yourself,
Well, it's a theme for the night.
And also to write yourselves into a corner. I mean, Jim was the one who said, you know, we would always make the ends of seasons difficult because they'd made for the best writing, you know, in the following year.
And Jimmy, you play air traffic controller from getting the script and talking to the producers and what's on the page to then the week of rehearsals with these guys and how much they play and and come up with stuff. How is this show different from other shows you've worked on in that respect?
Best one.
Yeah, this is the greatest show I've ever worked on. Other than Cheers.
That's timing.
When you have just a plethora of delights that come from the writer's room and you give them to gifted actors, it's never, there are no bad moments on the show. There are moments that don't work, but there are never any bad moments. There's never any ego problems or stuff like that. And it's just, as I like to say, when the show was, when we got to do it again, when this rebirth of the show came, it occurred to me, you can go homo again.
And to that point about Jimmy encouraging the guys to rewrite, they not only would rewrite after a rehearsal, but one of the hallmarks of what we do, and I've done other shows since that where it was not the case, where they rewrite on the floor. We're in front of an audience. We've just done the scene. I mean, I watched the episode tonight, and there's a good dozen punchlines in there that we'd never heard till moments before they come on stage. Max whispers them in your ear or my ear, and we do them. And so the reason I think the show remains fresh is because you guys are never afraid to invent and reinvent and reinvent.
And what was funny about that episode that you all just watched is these are artists and they don't get a chance to watch everything that's on TV. And pitching that Khaleesi line to Deborah the night that we filmed it, and she had no idea what Khaleesi was or whether it was, and you just had to sound it out to her, and you knew that.
Khaleesi, say it after me. Khaleesi.
Khaleesi, yeah, Khaleesi, and then you knew Miss Ball was going to take it and make it work.
Literally said the joke phonetically.
Right, yeah.
I did.
I mean,
They're
Megan
like,
was just.
trust us.
Yeah.
It will get a laugh.
Right.
Okay.
Megan didn't know what White Walkers were, and this year, and I'm like, just say it. It's gonna get a laugh.
Let me just ask a couple of other questions that we got from Twitter, which are we got many of the same question, which is amazing. Megan, do you have a favorite? Well, this is really for all of you. A favorite?
No, go, please, them.
A favorite moment from the show, either the first season or this new reboot, or one of?
Oh, gosh. Well, I guess in this reboot, I was just sort of blown away by the script for Rosario's quinceañera. So, not only because it was an incredible script all the way around for everybody, but because we were sending off this beloved character of Rosario, played by a beloved actress, Shelley Morrison, who had chosen to retire. And so I just couldn't believe it. When I read the script, I thought it was so perfectly calibrated in every way.
And to Ms. Megan's skill set, it's also one take, and it was a perfect take. And Dave and I were watching it and editing, and we just let the camera roll because it was perfect the first time it came out of her mouth.
Well, I have to say that Will and Grace is only one of 3 shows in which the entire cast has won an Emmy Award. Along with the Golden Girls and All in the Family being the other 2. For you guys, I'd love to know at what point, this is a show for the history books. I don't know how aware you are of that when you go to work every day. And I wonder if that is a pressure, or if it inspires you, or if you don't think about it.
It was certainly a pressure to live up to that this time around, but I feel like somehow the video that we did for YouTube, and it just made all of our shoulders drop. We knew we could be these characters again. We knew these guys were going to write great stuff, and we knew Jimmy was on board, and I just feel like this has been a kind of a magic carpet ride, this reboot. It really has.
A once-in-a-lifetime experience happening for the second time.
Yeah.
Well, we are thrilled.
In my new capacity as a famous psychic, I had when I read
You got the earrings to wear, huh?
Yes, $140 an hour. When I first read the election video script, I put it down and I emailed Max Muchnick, who's over there, and wave, Max. And I said, why can't we just do the show again? And he emailed right back, we can. And neither of us knew. We were just pulling that out of our asses. But I just got this incredibly strong feeling, just a feeling, like an overpowering feeling that we would do the show again when I read that. Based on nothing, because shows never come back, do you know what I mean? So it was not based on any rational thinking. Because once a show, usually, traditionally, once a show is over, it's over forever and ever.
Not this time, we hope.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, hopefully we'll be watching this new incarnation of Will and Grace clearly we will, for 2 more seasons, which is a thrill. I know all of you, many of you have questions for the creators of Will and Grace, the director, the cast, and we will get to as many as we can, but it's very important that you have a microphone. So we will get to you. If you have a question, we can start right here in the front row. If somebody can bring a mic to this gentleman.
There's Finn.
Hello, my name is Brad, and we drove over from Arizona. I brought my husband. This is his Valentine's Day present. I know. First of all, it's nice to meet all of you, and the 4 friends on the end there who are my friends. I cannot tell you how much this opportunity means to me. It's a bucket list. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, we can.
Now everybody. Oh, no.
Thank you guys so much.
I'm sorry about the seat. Sorry about the seat.
We can't do this
We're gonna have to
with
hug
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it was actually Valentine's Day, did he think he
I
got
do
hurt?
actually have a
Yes.
question, and well, seats. The cathartic nature of this series coming back, the healing factor. I also follow all of your Twitter, the activism, love, love, love. My question was actually going to be for Megan regarding the Rosario send-off, because the layers you showed of Karen, so subtly, so exquisitely, I mean, they were just everything you guys tried to have happen. I can tell you, it was all done here. So I'll go to my other backup question, which I did tweet you, which was, what's your favorite adult beverage? So that's my go-to.
My favorite adult beverage is my next one.
That's such a good answer.
Other than the incomparable Debbie Reynolds, who are your favorite guest stars for anyone who wants to answer?
Matt Damon. So funny.
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
I love Alec Baldwin and Molly Shannon and Vanessa Bayer I love.
Last week, yeah.
And you know who's incredible is Charles, who plays Smitty.
Yes.
And this guy, wait until you see, what Megan does to this guy next
In
week.
a week and a half.
Yeah.
It's funny because of the nature of Smitty and the nature of that joke, he usually only ever has like one line. And then something happened and he got more than one line, and we were all just like, holy fuck, this guy is a genius. He's so funny.
But so the actor Charles came up to me, like at the craft service table, and I said, there was fish laid out. I said, oh, that's a delicious salmon, Charles. You should try that. And just like Gary went, when I was a boy, my father took me fishing, and he told a Smitty story.
There's a question right here in the front row. Right here.
Thank you so much. I echo everything he said. Sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry if this is a sore subject, but I was at the taping a few weeks ago, and Megan Mullally and Sean Hayes worked their asses off to nail an amazing tap dancing routine. And it didn't make the final episode.
Yes.
And I was just wondering a little bit about the editing process. There was so much great stuff in that episode you filmed. How do you decide to kind of what makes the final 21 minutes? And Megan powered through with the
It is a
flu.
sore subject.
I'd like to preface this.
Yes.
I'd like to preface this answer by saying that I also had this stomach flu at the time we shot it. We did a tap dance on top of the table, and I was sick with a stomach flu.
But she
Please
nailed it.
continue.
Yeah, but I want to answer the question because we heard a lot about that. Okay, and it's very, very difficult to edit this show because everything is good. And but you still have to judge it according to what you want out there for the audience to see, and you want the best of what is already fantastic out there. And we have to be very, very hard on our work, and that's why hopefully the show stays at a certain level. And that number was fucking insane, okay? It was crazy, that number. Megan's character was talking in time to music, okay? It went to another world that really, we had to make a choice that, and you know, that could, yeah, and but it will be online. It will be online.
Right there.
Hi guys, I'm such a big fan.
Oh, look at the shirt.
I was wondering for each of you, I am a huge fan of the bloopers, and I'm wondering, first of all, will there be more? And second of all, which one for you was the hardest to get through? All four of you.
The nurse.
Well, my hardest was, the nurse. When this is hard. When Grace has to get her blood drawn, and I'm sorry, but literally, I mean, Jimmy, I mean, we did it literally like 8 times, and I could not stop laughing. I couldn't even get to it. And finally, he was like, Deborah!
Come on, Deb!
Come on!
I don't do 8 takes of anything.
Black
By
t-shirt
far,
in the
that
back
was
row.
the hardest.
Go ahead.
I am so excited you're all here. And Jimmy Burrows, I mean, oh my God, Jimmy Burrows is in the house. Like, that's crazy to me. Okay, so I've been literally watching Will and Grace.
Thanks, Dad.
I want a hug from Jimmy. No. So I've been watching Will and Grace literally for 20 years. Almost every day of my life, I've watched Will and Grace. And some of my favorite episodes are the live episodes. Just fucking hysterical. So please tell me you're going to be doing another live episode this or next season. Please.
I mean, if you need it, we'll tell you that, but...
We've talked about it. It's a whole... sure, yes, we're going to do it.
Thank you.
I'm speaking for everyone here. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for being my home for 20 years. I'm a high school English teacher, and I'm here with my twin sons. And I'm sure you can't imagine the impact you've had on teenagers growing up in America. So thank you for that. You've created such a safe haven for them. Just a couple words of advice, a couple sentences, what you would say to them, teenagers today, with the struggles they deal with from your standpoint, from the show, from your lives. Thank you.
I'm more impressed with teenagers today than I am with the adults today, quite frankly.
I'd probably say to them what I would say to my own son, who's sitting right there. I would say, I said dinner was ready 10 minutes ago. It's not that hard. I'll draw you a map from your bedroom to the kitchen. It's not there.
In front of 3,000 people.
Hi. My question is about the scene in the shower from this season. I understand. Honestly, I watch it whenever I'm annoyed or because it just makes me so happy. So thank you for that. But I want to be a television director one day, and I wanted to ask, how do you block that if you don't rehearse it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we rehearsed it. We rehearsed it. You know, you kind of have to simulate it. But then, when you got gifted actresses, we wouldn't put the guys in the tub. But
That's a different show.
They can't float.
Yeah. But we did it. We pre-shot it. I hate to say that, but we pre-shot it, but we had to do it because there was a lot of noise made by the water and stuff like that. But once we immersed the girls in the water, they loved it. They stayed in the water.
What's wrong with the mermaid
They
cat?
stayed, and we changed lines while they were looking over the top of the shower. And it was, you had to do it that way. That was what was it, fiberglass?
It was a shark tank. It was
Yeah.
actually a fish tank because we.
Mark Cuban was inside of it. Unbelievable.
Good one. Good one.
It's tucked away in the
guy.
In the second row, white jacket.
Yeah.
Thanks.
First of all, thank you all for being my best friends for so many years.
Thank you.
Sean Hayes, your Jerry Lewis, rocked my world.
Thank you.
Deborah
Do
Messing?
you hear that applause? That's for all the people who saw it and all the people who didn't. And wait, and all the people who didn't applause also saw it.
Deborah Messing, Smash, loved it. And Will, you are kind of like my best friend that I lived with for so many years in West Hollywood, okay?
Okay.
All right. Karen Walker, I am part of the Karen Walker Club, okay? But I just want to tell you all, thank you.
Thank you.
That is really what I wanted to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Go in the back.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get people in the back.
Can you get somebody, a gentleman who's waving like this? Yeah. Stand up. Stand up.
There,
Yeah.
that desperate person
There
right
you
in the
go.
back. Yes.
Oh, wait, that's Meryl Streep.
Yes. There is the yeah.
Hi, my name's David. What an amazing thrill. This is the greatest moment ever, maybe in my life. Seeing you guys in person, it's fantastic. I don't know if it's for Megan or for Max or who, but in season 1, episode 16, there is a Megan Mullally About Last Night reference where Grace is on the phone and Karen says, cue the laugh and the hair toss from About Last Night. I've been waiting 20 years. Where did that come from? Who was that? You, Max, who did that?
Wait, what? Well,
the laugh.
It wasn't.
With the guy, yeah.
Bill Shatner moment.
It might have been a coincidence because in 1985 I was in the movie About Last Night, and I did something. There's something called the hair flip with a giggle, and then it ended up being something that Karen said later in Will and Grace. But I don't think you even knew that, right?
Okay. No.
Just.
I remember the scene.
But I remember her saying.
I remember the scene. It's Grace being predictable with a guy, and Karen basically saying, "I know her moves now."
I had also done that exact same thing in the movie About Last Night
About
in
Last Night,
1985.
yes.
And
she was the character that did the laugh and the hair toss.
Right. Okay.
Demi Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank the Paley Center. I want to thank everybody here, and especially Megan and Eric, Deborah, Sean, Jimmy, David, and Matt.